What up everybody, my name is John Tyler and welcome back to my channel. It has been a very long time since any of you have seen any of my animals, so I thought that would be a good reason to walk through my updated reptile room and show you guys how all of my animals are doing. Since the last time you've seen them, quite a bit has changed regarding their setups, and I've also moved all of my animals upstairs, as you can see behind me. And this has been a really cool thing because I've got all my animals in one little condensed space, which makes it really easy to record videos, and it's also super easy for cleaning and taking care of the animals because they're all in one contained space. So we'll go ahead and get into the tour, but before we do that, make sure to go down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications, and drop a comment or a question if you got one. And I'm also going to be dropping a link to my Etsy shop where I'm selling some digital download photography of several of the animals you see behind me. So if you want to check those out, make sure to hit that link. But without further delay, let's get right into the video. Okay, so we're going to get started with our boy Jerry here. I've had Jerry since 2017, so he is over 7 years old at this point. Banana ball python. You can see as he's aged, he's gotten more and more of these black spots on his body, which are kind of emblematic of the banana ball python morph. He is an incredible pet. I've got zero complaints with him. Really pretty patterning. I love that yellow, purple, orangish hue that he has, which has faded as he's gotten older, but he's still pretty in my eyes. He's also a super sweet snake. Of all my animals that I've owned, and I've owned quite a few in my day, Jerry's the only one that has never tried to bite me, bite me out of aggression. He is, the one time he struck at me is when I was feeding him one day. My hand was warmer than the frozen mouse I was giving him, which had been thawed out, but just wasn't warm enough. I stuck my hand in the cage to drop the mouse down, and he struck at my hand because he smelled the mouse and sensed the heat on my hand. So he was stimulated, ready to eat, and was ready to rock and roll, and my hand was, 98.6 degrees or whatever it is, and the mouse was like 95 degrees. So he went for my hand, but I'm a speedster. He was not getting me. I dodged it, but I learned my lesson, because the last thing I want to do is have my hand in Jerry's mouth. But yeah, super sweet snake. Made a really good impression on me, ball pythons have, with Jerry here. I'd love to own some more at one point in the future, but nevertheless, Jerry's been doing good. He's eaten frozen thawed rat pups, I believe is the title. Whatever rat size is the width of his midsection. I can't remember if it's a teenage rat or a baby rat, but either way, Jerry's chilling, doing real good. Let's go ahead and put him back in his enclosure. Okay, so before I put Jerry back in his 40-gallon tank here, I thought I would share with y'all a quick, fun story regarding Jerry, kind of a moment of terror and utter panic. A few years ago, I had some guests over, and they had requested I get the snake out and show it to them. So I brought Jerry, the snake, out, had him on my shoulders, and kind of once the showcase was done, kind of got into the conversation. They were about to leave, so I was just leaned back on my counter when, unbeknownst to me, Jerry halfway crawled off my shoulder and got wrapped up in a wire bread basket and got stuck. And I realized it mid-conversation just as the guests were leaving, so I just kind of concealed my panic, and as soon as they stepped out the door, I went into action mode, put Jerry and the bread basket on my bed, and realized that he had gotten stuck at his thickest section, and he was in there, and he could not go any farther forward, or he definitely couldn't go backward. So I was panicked. The best idea I came up with, which sounds ridiculous at the time, but it did work, so you can't call me totally crazy, is I cut off a piece of butter from a stick of butter and rubbed it at a part of him where he was stuck, and I grabbed the opposite end of him. I didn't grab his head, but I grabbed closer to the butt end of him, his tail section, and pushed forward and backward very, very quickly, and he slid right out of that bread basket, and he was none the wiser. No missing scales, no injuries, and I didn't get bit. So all in all, a pretty positive experience that I hope I will never have to deal with again. So word to the wise, when you are fooling with your snake, be aware of objects with holes and passageways, because they will figure out a way to get stuck in them. And you wouldn't want to waste your stick of butter on your snake. So let's put Jerry back, and we'll head on to our next animal, which will be Titan, the Leachianus gecko. So I have gotten my Leachianus, my Pine Island Leachianus gecko Titan out of his terrarium, bruised and bloodied, covered in scratches. Not really, except for the scratches part, but Titan's kind of a jackleg, not the nicest critter I own. He's got nothing on Jerry in forms of being kind, but nevertheless, he's a beautiful animal, and I'm really happy to have him as a part of my collection. Male Leachianus geckos can be difficult to come by at times, and this is a Pine Island, by the way, to be specific, Pine Island locale Leachianus. Some beautiful moss greens and pink splotches on him, but as I was hinting at, he's just kind of a jerk. If you've followed my channel for a while, you've heard me say that before, and it hasn't changed. He is not, character development for Titan has been poor, to say the least, but once you get him out of the cage, he's pretty easy to deal with, but it can be sort of a whirlwind of emotions to get him out of the cage in the first place. It, makes life a little more colorful, you know what I mean? So, but a beautiful animal. He's gigantic. He's about the length of my forearm. He's a big animal, really cool animal. I've got him eating watermelon flavored Pangea. All of my Rhactodactylus species are actually eating that right now, and they seem to really enjoy it. So I would recommend that to any Crested Gecko or Leachy or Gargoyle Gecko owner to check out that watermelon flavor. I'll show you guys it in a second, but they seem to really be enjoying it. But Titan's hanging loose. I give him a pinky mouse every now and then, and he gets that watermelon Pangea, and he's seemingly content. He does bite the hand that feeds him, which we all know is a no-no, but I don't think he has a huge understanding of morals, which I'll give him a pass. But yeah, super beautiful animal. I'm happy to have him, even though he's a jerk. So I'm going to go ahead and put Titan back in his home, back into his enclosure. A couple things have changed in his terrarium since the last time y'all have seen him, so I thought I would give you guys a little rundown. But let's go ahead and put him back in there. Notice how well he blends in. But I've got this giant cork tube over here that I kind of extracted from a previous build of Titans back in the day, and a cork flat in the top that's shaded so the light from this light up here does not get into his eyes during the day. And then in the bottom right corner, I've got a food dish right here, like I said, with that watermelon Pangea in it, which he did not eat much of last night, but generally he's eating it pretty good. You'll notice a trend in the setups you're about to see, and Titan's setup here as well, that I've kind of gone towards a more simplistic, easy to manage setup that's super practical yet pretty and functional for the animal. Obviously Titan's got all the, spooked him. He's got all the places he would ever want to hide in here. He's got two circular hides, a flat, and then he's got a tube down here as well that he'll hide out occasionally, especially when he's going to the bathroom. But I just kind of simplified everything down because I just was about kind of getting to the end of my rope when it came to vivarium construction and maintenance. I do see myself going back to that one day, but having this paper towel bedding with just a few pieces of cage furniture has been super conducive to me spending more time with my animals and keeping them clean, and overall has been really utilitarian and it's paid off for me. I thought I would show y'all real quick what Titan's claws can do to you in just a short period of time, just from holding them for the video. All scraped up. It's not painful necessarily by any means. It definitely doesn't feel good, but nevertheless, it's not super painful. He just has very, very sharp claws, and if you ever make the error of wearing a dry fit shirt while holding a Leachianus gecko, like I may or may not have done just a moment ago, you can expect it to be somewhat threadbare once they're done with it, but just something to think about. All right, everybody, so now we're going to check out Comet here. She's my sweet little gargoyle gecko. I've had her for a very long time. I believe I got her after Frito, so maybe 2014, 2015. So she's getting up there in age. She's no less than 8 years old, I think, and she has been a really sweet pet. Has calmed down and mellowed out over the years. She used to be a little bit of a spaz. That's no longer the case. She's loving that new Pangea watermelon. I'm telling y'all, if you've not let your animals try it yet, please give it a shot. She's put on quite a bit of weight with it, and she's just doing really well. I'm happy to have her. She's got a little bit of MBD, so I supplement her diet with quite a bit of calcium. She recovered from that nicely. She's egg bound as well. Couldn't tell you the last time she laid an egg. It's been quite a while, but I'll show you her terrarium here in a second. You'll see that I've got a lay box in there for her, just in case that ever arises. But she's a super sweet pet. Happy to have her. Beautiful coloration. But let's take a closer look at her cage. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put Comet back into her enclosure here. She jumps away. And much like I was explaining with Titan, got a really basic setup here. All the fundamentals. We've got our cork tubes, lots of extra surface area for her to climb around on. I've got this plant that comes from the top that she spends not too much time in. You'll see Frito here in a moment spends a lot of her time up in this little vine, but Comet spends most of her time in this cork tube here. Got her dish here for her to eat her Pangea. And then as you can see under here, kind of concealed, is the lay box. Just a really basic setup, has been really good for her and good for me as well as an owner. Alrighty y'all, so here is Frito, my wonderful crested gecko. She's just a great pet all in all. I've had her I think about a year longer than I've had Comet, so I think Frito's pushing 10 years old almost at this point, maybe 9 years old. But just a wonderful animal, extreme Harlequin. Her colors have faded a touch as she's aged, but you can still see these beautiful patternings and some oranges, some soft oranges and yellows, and some primarily a lot of contrast between brown and white, dark browns and whites on her. She's not exactly fired up at the moment. I'm sure she will be though by the end of this clip, but just a wonderful critter. I always suggest people to get crested geckos as their first pets. They don't necessarily require any external heating. If you can keep your home between 69 to 75 degrees, which I know is a little bit on the warm side, but especially if you keep them upstairs or you're not a cold body individual, you can get away with not having to have external heating for your crested gecko, which for a lot of people, the heating element of reptile ownership is a bit of a hiccup, a bit of a hindrance, and that's not necessarily the case with your crested geckos, as long as you keep them in that plus 70 degree interior temperature. All right, so we're going to drop Miss Frito back in her cage and set her down. I mentioned a moment ago, oh, there she goes, off to the races. She really seems to like this little vine. She spends a lot of time in the leaves up in here, nestled up in the corner back in the back left, and a lot of time in the tube in the back here. And then we've got a food dish here to the side. I do not particularly like the suction cup feed ledges because they do that just right there. So I generally try to brace it with a piece of cage furniture, but if you can, you should always go for the magnetic ledges up until you lose both of the magnets, which I don't really know how I did that, but I did. Nevertheless, I've just got it chalked up in here between this hide and the side of the tank. And while, yes, this magnetic ledge is strong enough to hold an adult Leachianus, I have heard him jump onto it and then it collapse in the middle of the night and wake me up. So having it down where it can't be affected by gravity or is not under the jurisdiction of Titan's leaping ability has been just fine. He's eaten it just fine there. And while not the most exciting thing in the world to check out, I thought I would show you this little rack system that I've got contrived here. Got all my cleaning products, basically all my sprayable products up here at the top. And then below I've got paper towel and all of my Pangea cups. And then finally here at the bottom, all of my powdered goods. This has been super convenient because as you can see, it's got wheels here at the bottom, so I'm able to put it wherever it needs to be. That has been a huge help to me when it comes to cleaning and using this space effectively, that I can move all my products with ease while cleaning them. Makes it a lot easier to clean all the animals at the same time. All right, and before we wrap things up, I thought I would show you this watermelon Pangea that I've been shouting out incessantly throughout the video. And the reason I'm doing that is because these three animals here, Crested Gecko, Gargoyle Gecko, and Leachianus Gecko, all three love it. And I've had a hard time historically finding a flavor that all of my geckos love. They've not all cared for papaya, they've not all cared for mango. One or two of them will like it, and the third won't, or two won't, and one will. But this one right here, man, every single one of them likes it. And this stuff's pretty expensive, so if you can stumble upon a flavor that all three of your animals like, especially if they're different species or just different animals in general have different preferences, it's kind of a blessing to be able to only have to buy the single package and have the assurance that your animals are going to eat it. So I definitely recommend maybe getting the smallest size of this if you haven't already and giving it a shot, because I've been very impressed with it. They like it, so I like it. All right, everybody, I want to thank you so much for watching today's video. I'm planning on getting back into doing reptile content. I want to have a good balance of bass fishing content and reptile content, and I've got a couple other ideas of topics I would like to cover and discuss as well. There's a whole lot of things I'd like to do videos about and talk about, so There's probably going to be a good mix, but I am going to be jumping back into my old ways and getting back into my reptile videos. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope each and every single one of you has an excellent day, and I'll see y'all in the next one.